everybody, it's your man, Governor Wildstar. What's up? And welcome to the Black Side of Liberty. I appreciate each and every one of you out there for being here for a wonderful episode with a very special guest who I'll be introducing to you in a moment. Hold on, let me turn off my phone here so we're not interrupted. Okay, so like I said, we got a great guest who I'll be introducing to you in a moment. Of course, first, all of you guys out there, if you are watching from YouTube, definitely be sure to subscribe. I'm almost at that 30,000 subscriber goal. So please watch any of those videos out there, viral videos that I have. Share those videos and help grow the audience so more people know about what I'm doing out here, fighting for we the people and fighting for you, we the people of California and wherever you are in the world. And of course, share those videos. Like I said, help us grow our audience so more people know what we are doing to bring back liberty. And if you want to connect with me on social media, please head on over to my website, governorwildstar.com. As you can see right here down at the bottom of the screen, governorwildstar.com. Head on over to the website now, and please click on any of those social media icons, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Connect with me and let's stay in tune in what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll be dropping a lot of information that they're not talking about in the mainstream media, and I definitely want to make sure that you out there are staying informed and are staying abreast to all of the real news that you should be paying attention to. And of course, if you are watching, be sure to drop some comments like my man right here, TJ Shelton, who says, what's up? He is here in the house. So if you have any comments, questions, definitely drop them. I'll do my best to make sure they're displayed here on the screen. He said also watch the Independence Day special where I speak with my man here, TJ. Hold on, right here. Somewhere like that. All right, yeah. Where I'll speak with TJ. And he said that was the best one. I hear the guest is kind of crazy, though. Yeah, he definitely is crazy. But I'm a pretty crazy guy myself. I do my best, like I said, to make sure that I'm exposing all of these truths to you, we the people, so you know exactly what's going on from the horse's mouth. You know what I'm saying? Straight from the street, no filter, none of that. So right here, right now, we're going to be talking about a whole lot with my guest, who I'm going to be introducing to you now, Mr. Rick Stewart, who is a candidate for Iowa Senate. What's up, Rick, and welcome to the Black Side of Liberty, my man.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to get on here and speak to your fans and speak to libertarians all around the world. And I hope we can have a great conversation. It's already off to a good start, and I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. The pleasure is all ours. You know, we definitely got to connect as freedom fighters all over the world. And you, my man, are stepping up to the plate in a major way because you are offering to represent we, the people of Iowa, out there as a Senate member. So I did stumble across, I guess, who you are and your information, being a member of the Libertarian Party. But for those people out there that don't know who the hell you are, Rick Stewart, can you please tell them, who are you, please?
Well, that's a great question, because sometimes I ask myself the same thing. Who am I? I'm a native Iowan, born in a small town, grew up in a slightly larger town of about 6,000. And I currently live in Cedar Rapids, the second largest city in the state. Most places wouldn't call it a city because there's only about 120,000 of us. But, I grew up in Iowa. I'm pure Iowan. My great-great-grandfather arrived in Iowa in 1852. And he was one of the people that recognized the governments in the East were too oppressive. They were too much in his pocket. So he moved out here to Iowa. And I guess that makes me fifth generation Iowan. But I've also had some other experiences. I actually went to a private school on the East Coast. I was there when Jeb Bush was there. And it's the same one that George Bush Jr. and George Bush Sr. went to, not while I was there. But then, I went to California on the West Coast. So I had a, little East Coast in me. And then 1 year of college on the West Coast, Menlo Park, California. And then I dropped out. I was just a hippie, long hair, didn't know why I was in college, didn't want to waste my mom's money. So I took 2 years. I traveled Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Went through all those countries that we've heard about that have wars now: Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Syria, and came back to my hometown where I was a law enforcement officer for 2 years. That was my first career. But then the big thing that happened was I started a little business in the natural foods industry, and it grew to 300 employees. And today it's a $200 million business. So that's my private sector experience. And since then, I've mostly been enjoying myself in retirement and running for political office as a libertarian.
That's incredible, man. You're like from rags to riches type of story. And a lot of people love rooting for the underdog. So you definitely have those people out there, hopefully, in the bag for you. And you did talk about, I guess, your stint as a law enforcement officer. And that's probably another thing that's going to aid in your favor, especially right now with there being lots of calls for criminal justice reform, somebody being on the inside, seeing that the desire for those changes, the need for those changes also has an advantage against their opponents. So I definitely applaud you there on that. And with regards to you being an Iowan for so long, I guess you would know the city more than most, or the state indefinitely. So I want to ask you with regards to this whole coronavirus lockdown, since it is, a hot button issue and one thing that most of the people in the country is focused on right now. With you guys out there in Iowa having a Republican governor, there has been, I guess, many attempts to defame those leaders, to say that they're not doing enough. So I want to ask you, since you are one of those boots on the ground type of people, has the coronavirus harmed more people in Iowa, or has the lockdown procedures, has that actually done more harm to the people in your community? What say you?
Well, that's a great question. Again, I get that a lot on the campaign trail. Our governor never instituted a statewide lockdown. She was pretty brave in the face of lots of opposition. But the truth of the matter is, for me, I just think that the politicians never should have said a word about coronavirus, for the simple reason that they didn't know what they were talking about. I think that the Iowa economy has done pretty well. We're mostly rural, and so coronavirus spreads a lot more easily when there are a lot of people packed into a small area, and that just is not the way that Iowa is. I myself went into a private lockdown for 3 weeks as soon as I realized this is big. That would have been way back in March, and nothing really happened to me. I just stayed home. I bought enough food and one trip to Aldi to keep me fed for 3 weeks. And then, I started to relax a little bit because the panic was over, and now we're settling into what's going on. I got COVID. I got that in late July, and I didn't have very many symptoms. I was just totally feeling not great for 2 days. I had a temperature of 100.6. That only lasted 4 hours. And then on the third day, I felt fine again. So I was one of those lucky people that really didn't suffer from it. On the other hand, we have definitely lost a lot of Iowans. Most of them fall into the same category that other people fall into. Most of them are older. I myself am a very, very young 69. I know most people say I look, 39, 49, but actually I'm an old man. And but that's okay. I didn't suffer. I think a lot of it is because I have a pretty healthy diet and I have a pretty healthy lifestyle. Like I said, I was in the natural foods industry, so I tended to eat well, not necessarily every day. I certainly wasn't perfect, but over the course of my life, I was a pretty good eater. And I try and stay in shape, and I work out, and I keep my weight down, and I don't have any comorbidities, so I didn't really, I really wasn't worried about it, even though I'm a little bit older. I think that the problem we have, and I want to answer your question directly, because I believe that if you ask me a question, I should give you the straight answer. But I honestly, I think in Iowa, the economic shutdown, voluntary or involuntary, has been a lot more harmful to our state than the COVID itself. It's hard to compare a virus to an economy, and if it's a virus, you can just count. You got one person, two persons, you got 100, you got thousands. So it's easy to count. The media likes to report numbers, and everybody's staring at the TV station, looking at the internet. How many people died today? How many people got COVID today? But we can't count the economy that easily. It's really hard to count. Like, well, how many people died because of the economy? Or how many people suffered? How many people didn't get schooling? How many people lost their jobs? These are numbers that no one really knows. So I'm going to have to say, I wish I knew which one of those was worse. My intuition says that when you take a state of 3 million people and you sort of like a super shock to the economy, then that's more dangerous than this virus. I'm not trying to say this virus is not dangerous. We know this virus kills people, and it's killed a lot of people. That's not the question. It's just the thing is, we don't know how bad the impact was for all the people in Iowa that had the economy cut out from underneath their legs. Now, I will also say Iowa's a rural economy, so a lot of our economy was able to just forge right ahead. Farmers, they didn't have to like quit farming just because there's a virus.
Right.
And a lot of the factories, they figured it out very, very quickly how to stay open, even though there's the virus. Like the company that I started, they were panicked like everybody else, but they very quickly implemented all of the things that they thought made sense in order to minimize the transmission of the virus inside the factory. And to the best of my knowledge, not a single person of those 300 even got COVID. But there's repercussions that people don't understand. They had a hard time getting their supplies in, right? We buy lots of stuff from all around the world, and a lot of the people that we buy from weren't able to supply us because they had the same problem. They couldn't get their raw materials. They couldn't get their workers in because the workers were worried and they didn't want to come back to work, and then they got unemployment benefits. So it's so hard to measure that. But I would say my best guess is that the economic downturn actually harmed more Iowans overall than COVID. Although I don't think that people are dying today from the economic downturn. It's such a balancing act.
Yeah, you're right. It's sad that that a lot of these politicians are basically kind of using this virus to say, well, this is the reason why people have lost their jobs. This is why unemployment and domestic violence and kids dropping out of school has went up. It's like, no, the damn lockdown has done that, not the virus itself. It's the politicians' response to it. You said it right, though. They shouldn't have ever said anything about it at all, because it's instilled a lot of fear that caused that response by the public. It's not as serious as, let's say, Ebola virus, something where if you contract it, your certainty of dying is extremely high,
right?
But it's like the flu, even with H1N1, the swine flu and the bird flu and all of these other flus and mad cow disease, whatever the case may be, all of these supposed virus outbreaks that we've had in the United States, yet they chose this one in particular to impose I guess restrictions on our freedoms and liberties as Americans. And Iowa seems like it's one of those places to where, like here in Fresno, like you said, it's more so a rural economy, lots of farmland, lots of space between people, to where it doesn't really cause as much of a threat, but yet the imposition on people to, again, restrict their traveling and interaction with each other has caused more harm. So it's sad that we see that happening. Hopefully someone such as yourself get an opportunity to vocalize that to more people and have it be heard. Now, moving along also with this, with another hot button issue, I guess, that's going around in the country is the demand for criminal justice reform. acknowledgement of systemic racism in our institutions, whether it be the criminal justice system or our educational system, medical system, etc. I would say, because I've been on your social media, you are very open on speaking on these issues. I see a lot of posts on your Facebook talking about Black people that have gotten shot and killed by police officers. And when I do it, I get shamed for it. They're like, why don't you just focus on, everybody that gets shot and killed by cops and not just Black people? And it's turned into a racial issue. But you yourself, a white man, is doing exactly the same thing and sharing this information to your constituency. I want to ask you, why do you care about Black lives? It's obvious Black lives matter to you. Why?
Well, I think the answer to that is pretty simple. I don't really look at somebody and say, oh, look, they're Black, or oh, they're white, or they're brown. I just look at people everywhere in the world, all 7 billion of us, and I say to myself, well, there's a person, and until it's been proven otherwise, I trust that person, and I care about that person, and I am not going to do any harm to that person. But when it comes to Black, America's just been disgraceful for hundreds of years, but the most disgrace that I see is in the drug war. The drug war is clearly racist. It was racist when President Nixon started it back in 1972 or something like that. Mm-hmm. He was going after two groups of people. This is not just my opinion. This is what we have a spoken record on. He was trying to get rid of the hippies, and he was trying to get rid of the Blacks because they were annoying him and they weren't voting for him. So, I was a hippie and he was trying to get rid of me, and probably your dad was Black and he was trying to get rid of him. And what happened with hippies is we got a little bit older and we cut our hair, we took off our bell bottoms. In my case, I joined the police force, we sort of grew up, and then those of us who used illegal recreational substances, we did it inside our homes, and we did it carefully, and we never really got bothered. I have so many friends that have been using illegal recreational substances basically their whole life. And, they're just like the rest of us. I've been around a lot of them. I always like to say this up front. I'm not a drug user except for the most dangerous drug of alcohol, which is my preference. But anyway, what happened with the Blacks is that they couldn't hide, right? I mean, they couldn't change the color of their skin. They were still Black 2 years, 10 years, 20 years later. And all of a sudden we have this drug war going on. And as a law enforcement officer, I think I understand a lot about the drug war that comes from personal experience, but also comes from just paying attention for a long, long time. And let me be perfectly blunt here. When you're a police officer, including me and my partners, it was always easier to arrest a poor person than it was to arrest a middle-class person. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is that you're a police officer and you consider yourself middle class and you consider yourself above poor people because you got a job, you're getting paid, you're respected. So it's easy to arrest a poor person. It's obviously middle class people get arrested, but it's a lot harder. There's a natural filter there. And the drug war, Blacks and whites, they both use drugs at exactly the same rates. I don't care what drug it is. We all use drugs at the same rate. I don't care our color, our ethnicity. But it was just easier for a law enforcement officer to enforce the drug war against basically poorer people. Right. And unfortunately, because of previous episodes of racism, including slavery in the United States and Jim Crow, there were too many poor Black people. And they were obvious. And it became really easy to do your job, I say, as a police officer, if you arrested them. And of course, if you just have it in your head that you can get an arrest for marijuana or for maybe a little bit of crack cocaine or something like that, if you just stop somebody and ask them some questions, which are usually tricky questions, and then they give the wrong answer, and then you search, and then you find, and then you file charges, and then they go to court, and then they go to prison. That pipeline is just, it's like unbelievable. And it's focused on Black people.
Right.
It's not a debatable point. I hope every one of your listeners has read Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow, because that book just lays it out for everybody to see. It's a racist war. Now, when it comes to Black Lives Matter, I can't fix systemic racism in America. I don't even know how. It's like it's there, and if I could fix it, I would. But there's one thing I can do which will have more impact than anything else anybody does, and that's end the drug war now. That will have a dramatic impact on Black people. Number one, it'll let about 1 million of them out of prison, where they're not doing anybody any good. They got ripped away from their families, from their children, from their jobs. They had their license taken away, their driver's license taken away from them. We're spending $40,000 a year to incarcerate 1 million extra people, a lot of whom are Black, for victimless crimes. That just is completely nonsensical. So I propose ending the drug war right now. And in fact, I want to take it a little bit further than that. And I propose this publicly. You can go on YouTube and see my video. I say we do reparations to people who are in prison for a victimless crime. And what we do is we give them $50,000 for every year they were in prison, because that's life that was stolen from them. And $50,000 for a year of life is a small payment when you consider all of the other negative repercussions that they went through. I believe in those kinds of reparations, because that's not somebody, my commercial says, I don't know about reparations overall. If my great-grandfather, enslaved your great-grandfather, I think they're going to have to fight it out in hell or heaven. I'm thinking one of them is the other one is heaven. But I really can't do anything about that. And I like to do things that I can do today and impact things. So I say, let's give reparations to the people who committed victimless crimes.
Right.
Because that's what using an illegal recreational substance is. There's no victim. So why are they in prison? That's unjust, it's unfair, and it's highly racialized. Let's just take them out, give them $50,000 for every year. So if they've been in for 20 years, give them $1 million and say, we are sorry.
Wow.
Because that's what we should be. That's the apology that we should be making as a nation. And I make that apology every day. I am very, very sorry just for standing by and allowing it to happen over the course of the last 50 years. I'm guilty too. But I've been fighting against that for a long time. I was tuned into the abysmal drug war from probably from when I was about 20, and it was a little bit later, maybe in the 90s, when somebody opened my eyes and they said, "Hey, it's a race war." Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Well, tell me why." Well, they did. They had the facts. The facts haven't changed. It's a race war. So that's what I would do about it. But your original question, really, I didn't answer. You said, "Well, why do I care about Black people?" I care about Black people because they're my neighbors. I got a Black family on one side. I got a white family on the other side. I don't differentiate between them. They're my neighbors. I got a lot of Black families on my block here. I got a lot of white families on my block. And when BLM really hit the fan after George Floyd's death, I just went out and bought 30 Black Lives Matter signs, nice ones I really like, and I just gave them to every single neighbor that wanted them. And just about everybody took them. I had 2 people that said, "No, not me. I don't want to do that." But I just, it makes me cry thinking about the drug war and the way that it's basically been aimed at Black people, and they've suffered for years and years and years. Just think about that. You get ripped away from your family.
Right.
You can't take care of your family, and then we wonder, why aren't Black people taking care of their families? It's because they're in prison.
Exactly.
And their dad was in prison.
Yeah.
It's like they grew up with a single family household because we imprisoned their dad, and maybe by now their grandfather. What the hell do you expect? If I was Black and I had been living in this world under those rules and those regulations and being constantly hassled by law enforcement, when my white neighbor's not getting bothered, I would be angry. And I do not think there's ever a call for violence. But I'll tell you what, I would be in the streets and I would not be letting out. And I have a reason to be angry. And the reason is this country took the drug war and turned it into a race war.
That's incredible.
I apologize. I get a little excited when I talk about this.
No, I mean, I can understand the passion, especially myself, having been a victim of police abuse in so many ways. But I just have to applaud you for just being frank and honest and calling it for what it is. They've turned this drug war into a race war because you're being prejudiced against a specific group of people. And like you said, your job as a police officer was to basically do your job, and as much discretion as I'm sure you had as an officer, you still had protocol. And a lot of that also stems from demands on quotas. They want to make sure that they're getting enough people in prison and making sure that it's seeming like it's serving a purpose to the community, or else that would invalidate the need for the majority of the people on the police force. And I mean, you kind of nipped it in the bud by saying, you don't see color, you just see people as being people, and that's how we should be respected. But that's not something that the American government is doing, especially through its judicial system, by, again, penalizing specific people of a certain race or skin color opposed to, everyone else. So it's sad that is the reality that we're dealing with. And you're right. No, any one person or group has a specific way on alleviating this issue altogether. So anybody out there listening, if they say we have the answer to ending systemic racism, they're lying, most likely. It's going to be a effort that we're going to have to start implementing certain procedures first, or probably even repealing some of these bad laws, to help in that aid in that effort. But it's only one step at a time. And we have to get there by first taking the first step by just simply acknowledging it. And for you to go out there, buy these signs, give it to your neighbors, and allow them to also share that message, gives them an opportunity and gives us, we the people, an opportunity to, again, acknowledge this issue, sit down, talk about it, and come up with the true resolution. So I definitely got to thank you so much for even saying that. My wife right here, Krista Wildstar, she says, I love this guy. You're definitely earning a lot of cool points, and we definitely need people speaking out passionately on this issue, especially those people that aren't Black, to take it to heart and stand up against those people that are saying, well, hey, all lives matter, or focus on this group, and why are you focusing on that group? It's like, no, we need to realize this is an issue for a certain group of our population. Help them, help us, that helps everyone. So if we could focus on issues such as that, I think we'd be a lot further than we are right now, So with that said, I also checked out a little bit about you and your proposals as to what you want to do to help fix the state of Iowa, as well as help us in the entire country, since you will be a Senate member, in helping change these bad laws that exist in our entire country. And I must say there were some things that I agreed on you with, and then there were some things where I'm like, hell no. So first, I'll talk about the bad news.
Yeah, sure.
You were asked a question in one of your interviews about the healthcare system and what would you do to change that, and you offered universal basic income. I like your thought about the reparations, because that definitely focuses on those people that have been harmed by that issue in particular to receive compensation from the government for doing so. So that's a brilliant idea there. This UBI idea, which is $1,000 a month to each individual so they can afford health care, I'm really still trying to find, I guess, why that would be so. So if you could explain a bit further, how does a UBI and them receiving a universal basic income, which you proposed $1,000 a month, to fix the healthcare system? How would one fix the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And let me just say, I am a pretty pure libertarian. The libertarian platform, which I reread pretty much once every 3 months at lp.org. There is not really anything that I disagree with on that at all. But we've got a problem in America. And the problem in America is not a brand new one. It started over about 100 years ago. And what we did was we started making people dependent on government in order to live. And that's just something that we did. I think it was a bad idea when we started. It didn't solve problems. It just created new problems. And here we are about 90 years later, and it's grown into pretty much what I would call a huge problem. We tried to take care of poor people in a variety of ways. First, we started taking care of poor people by saying, if you're old, you get Social Security. But then as we worked our way along, we started saying, well, if you're poor, you get food stamps. And then maybe we'll give you some welfare money. And okay, here, we'll give you some Medicaid insurance. And it just kept going up and up and up. And those programs have become so important that there are just a lot of people that not only depend on them, but psychologically they're addicted to them. And I can't just throw that all away and expect that anybody is going to support me. I have to come up with an alternative to the current system that will fix the problems with the current system and that will be politically acceptable. And that's why I actually agree with a universal basic income because, we dug ourselves a huge hole and we got to get out of it. That hole is creating a ton of problems, and I'll list some of them. But we can't just leap out. We have to put a ladder down the hole, and then we have to climb out step by step. And UBI is a phenomenal improvement to what we currently have. And the reason for that is this. Just think about it. If you're relying on any kind of government support whatsoever, and it can be tiny or it can be bigger. I remember when the government started giving away free cheese to people. So that's like a pretty tiny program. You just go down and get some free cheese. But nowadays, we've got disability programs, people that are on disability. We've got single parents that get some payments. We got older people who get payments. And if we just change everything so that everybody gets a level playing field, no matter who you are, when you reach the age of 18, you're going to start getting the UBI check of about $1,000 a month. That can actually be paid for with current taxes. We don't have to increase taxes much, although there will be some pain for people who are earning more than the current Social Security limit. Well, without getting into the numbers, roughly $140,000 a year, and you get to quit paying that 14.7% Social Security tax on your income. And I'm going to say, that's just going to go on. I don't care how rich you get, you're going to pay that same tax. If you just take that money and cancel all the current programs and switch it to a UBI, then what you've done is you've eliminated the negative incentives. The current system has incentives that we give people to not get a job, to not work hard, to not work more than 20 hours a week, or all kinds of other things. And those incentives work. Like, for instance, Social Security, they start taking it away from you if you start earning too much money. It's gradual, but your check actually goes down. Well, that actually incentivizes people not to work. The fact that they become 65 years old and are eligible for Social Security, that incentivizes people not to work. But a UBI, there's no incentive not to work because you get your check from the day you turn 18 until the day you die. It never gets it doesn't go away no matter what. Bill Gates is going to get his check for $1,000 a month. I'm sure he'll have something good to spend it on. But everybody, if they go to work, they're going to be able to keep most of their money. Right now, if you're just picking something, if you're getting welfare and you work too hard, then they take it away from you. Or if you're getting disability and you work, then they take it away from you. That's a reverse incentive. We want an incentive that everybody just go to work and keep most of your money. You're still going to have to pay some taxes, but most of your money is going to go into your pocket, and you're going to get $1,000 check. Now, the reason that I say that we have to take that health insurance payment out of the check. Number one, it's a individual policy, so it's only for you. It's not for your wife or your husband. And then number two, it's a basic policy. It's no frills attached. It's got a high deductible, which could be somewhere, let's just say $3,000 a year. But it's automatic. You can go out to the private marketplace and you choose which provider you want. So I suspect there will be hundreds of providers all around the country, and you'll pick the private insurance that you want, but the premium will be subtracted from your $1,000 check. What this does is it puts everybody into the same level playing field with regard to healthcare. They're going to be covered for all the major things that we're already covered for now. They're not going to be covered for a lot of the frills and the things that are sort of optional in the current environment. You're not going to get preventive care. You're going to have to pay for that out of your own pocket, but you're covered from the calamity of life. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, we've got relatively poor people and relatively rich people, and relatively rich people are going to easily be able to pay that deductible every year, and it's no big deal. Relatively poor people might have to cough up, $3,000 a year if they have a continuing condition. But it's not that many people, number one. And then number two, it's not that much money in the grander scheme of things. And private charity, I'm absolutely confident, will step in and fill the gap. So actually, the person that doesn't have very much money will be paying for his own health insurance policy out of his own $1,000 check, and he'll be covered. Excuse me. But when it comes to the $3,000 deductible that they might have every year, a combination of private charity and just the good heart of doctors and nurses and hospitals will pick that up, and they'll get the same essential care that everybody else gets. It's a deviation from libertarian philosophy, and I don't think it would be necessary, except we've had 80 years of exactly the opposite. We've had 80 years of programs that penalize you if you participate in society. I mean, imagine we just put our minds into the role of being disabled now. You can't go to work and work 40 hours a week at your old job. So they pay you. But then you're not allowed to work at any other job. Right. Maybe you're good for 10 hours a week. Maybe you're good as a job that didn't pay as much, but it requires less physical labor. You are not permanently work disabled. You should be able to go out there and if you want, and if you're capable, and earn some more money and enhance your income. Okay. And you'll get that $1,000 a check. So it's really leveling the playing field, which originally was level, but then we made it unlevel, and now we got to get it back to level. And I believe universal basic income is the easiest, fastest, and the simplest way to do it, because everybody will understand it. They all get, I got a check. I'm paying taxes. It's simple.
If I can say, the only problem is that I can see with that, as clever as it sounds, because basically what you're saying is end all of these other programs, shift the money over to this program, and then we'll be able to afford it, is that you're still dependent upon the government. And that to me is the problem, because government really can't run anything accurately, efficiently, or economically in a way to where it's affordable to we the people. We end up almost always paying more for those services than if it were provided to us by private entities. And I see that as being the major problem, is because, like you pointed out, people that are on Social Security income or receiving any other kind of, government assistance typically don't have any incentive or desire to want more than what they've been given. You have a lot of people out there that are okay with just having the basics taken care of. They don't want more than that. So where does the drive come in for more? So if anything, that would expand the welfare state, expand the mentality of dependency, and keep this whole ball of spending and borrowing from taxpayers going. When we want to stop that, we want to kill that shit altogether. Stop using taxpayers' money on failed programs, and especially with healthcare. Now, with us having socialized medicine and a socialized healthcare system, we're paying money into it, and not too many people are seeing the benefits of it. Especially here in California, where there's we're the highest tax per capita in the entire nation, but yeah, we have one of the worst medical programs and systems as well. not too many people are receiving the health care that they need. More people are paying for paying higher prices for prescription drugs. And with these people that are receiving any type of government assistance or whatever, they're more so given that because of some functionality. If you go to the doctor and they say, oh, well, you're bipolar or whatever the case may be, now you have this medical issue and all of a sudden you're getting government checks. Doesn't take away from you not having the physical prowess to be able to go out there and provide for yourself. And I've met so many people that claim to be disabled and are getting checks, and they're very physically capable of going out there and working, mentally capable of going out there and working and providing for themselves. So I would just say, with regards to that whole dependency on government issue, it expands that in some way by presenting a universal basic income. And although there may be other ways to fund that, I would rather it come from private charities, like you said, church groups, faith-based groups, the people that are willing to just help each other. We have laws in California that prevent us from going out on the corner with food and feeding the homeless. Why? Because it's a liability and they could sue us and sue the state. And, so it prevents people from helping each other, opposed to government stepping in on the scene and saying, we know how to fix this. We have all the tools and resources needed to turn things around, but yet we don't see that at all. It's just a perpetuation of the suffrage in my eyes. But I want to tie into that another thing that you talked about, because you did mention helping the poor and those that want to go out and provide for themselves. One thing that we do agree on is you said you would like to end the minimum wage, which I'm all for. But when you're talking about the poor, you would think that, again, that's something that poor people want. We want a mandated minimum wage. And then where you are in Iowa, that's $7.50, I believe, and in the state of California, $12. I think it should be up to $15. They've made this law to where it should be $15 come 2022 when the governor leaves office or whatever the case may be. But right now we have an economy that's pretty much at a stalemate. It's stopped completely in the state. So once employers go back to hiring people again, they're now going to be forced to pay them a higher wage, and they may not even be able to afford it themselves as business owners. So with this minimum wage, change, why do you feel like there should not be any minimum wage at all?
Well, that's a great question. And, I am not an economist, but I did get my MBA from the University of Chicago. So I was trained in a lot of economics. The minimum wage is controversial, and it always has been controversial among economists because there was a study just about 20 years ago, I think, that suggested that if you raise the minimum wage, that companies actually hired more people. That defies common sense, and that study has pretty much been debunked. But the basic logic is this. The law of supply and demand works for people. So if there's a big demand for people and there's a supply of people, then there's going to be a price in the market where you have to pay that much to pay them. That's called the going wage. If you look at the history of minimum wages in the United States, politicians almost never actually raise the minimum wage until the going wage is higher than that. And so, like, for instance, right now, I'll just talk about Iowa. Yeah, our minimum wage is $7.35 or something like that. But you couldn't hire anybody in Iowa for $7.35. They're hiring people right now for between $10 and $12 an hour. I'm talking unskilled people. So, if Iowa, if the politicians wanted to get a pat on the back, they could raise the minimum wage to $10. It would have no impact whatsoever. But the logic is this. Okay, so if raising the wage to $10 an hour is good for people, why don't we raise it to $50 an hour?
Right.
I mean, why not 100? And the answer is, well, then no one would no one would want to pay that. Well, that the logic is pretty good, because if you raise it above the going wage, nobody's going to want to pay that either. There's such a difference between like your state, California, and Iowa, like you pointed out. Certainly, there shouldn't be a federal minimum wage that applies to everybody in the country. That's just ridiculous. But even in a state, it shouldn't be the same. There's towns where, like, let's just say San Francisco. I don't know. I bet you can't hire anybody in San Francisco for $15 an hour. And yet there's other ones, out in the rural areas where I'm sure you can get people for still like maybe $12 an hour. So, that's one of the things that's wrong with it, is it implies that the whole country is homogeneous and we're all the same. We all should get paid the same. And that's just nonsense. But basically, when you dive in deep, you ask yourself this question: who is it that actually benefits from a minimum wage? And it's not the people who are working at the lower wage rates. It's the people who are going to get a raise themselves because their wage is indexed to the minimum wage. So if the minimum wage is $10 and I'm earning $20, and you raise the minimum wage to $15, I'm going to go to $30. Okay, so I'm going to benefit not from the minimum wage, but from the fact that you implemented the minimum wage. Because I insist on only working if you give me twice what the guy at the bottom gets. Now, who's hurt by the minimum wage? And the person who's hurt is the person who can't get a job.
Right.
Like, they're not worth $15 an hour. They're worth $14 an hour. They're worth $13 an hour. They're not going to get hired, but they didn't have a job to start with.
Exactly.
And so, what you've heard people that can't be counted. It's impossible to count the people who didn't get a job because the minimum wage went up. It's political nonsense. It makes no economic sense. And if we just got rid of it and quit pretending like it actually help people, we'd all be better off. And then we could argue about something that might actually have some substance to it. But the minimum wage, it just doesn't make economic sense. There's no good defense of it. Even though economists love to argue about it, they're arguing on a completely different plane. And I think if you just eliminated it, you wouldn't have very many economists that are saying, "Oh, that was a bad idea." They argue about whether it's like should it be 15 or 14. But when you get right down to the nuts and bolts of it, a minimum wage hurts the people that don't have a job yet. And who's that? Young people.
Yeah,
Right?
I actually proposed that during my campaign for mayor here in Fresno. It's one of those cities to where, like you said, doesn't really have a large job market, and it's a very rural community. It's a big agriculture here where I live, and the younger people either don't have those skills altogether about farming, or if they do, they never had that job to begin with. But yet you have employers being forced to pay them a certain amount, which is now $12 in the state of California, where some of those kids coming straight out of high school or still in high school would like to work, and they don't have that job skill, and they're willing to take as much money as they want or can take, even if it's $10 an hour. And this imposition, like you said, varies from city to city, state to state, etc. So the state in general has now kind of disabled the job market from expanding from these smaller job areas like Fresno. And it doesn't really create a better economic situation for many people. You have lots of industries altogether leave the state because they don't want to either pay that amount of money or can't afford to. So we end up suffering more because of it. So it's sad to see this happening all over our country. It's like one of those good idea, bad ideas, and as much as you have these politicians talking about it's a great idea to raise the minimum wage, you never hear them talking about lowering the cost of living, rent costs that end up going up higher because they're forcing landowners to pay X amount of dollars in property taxes or development fees for, building homes, etc. So the costs of living go up, and you never hear the politicians talk about that. They simply just force employers to pay people more money, which makes us as a community suffer even more. So one thing that I also want to talk to you about, since you did mention your age, which is 69 beautiful years of life. So we do have, and I'm not an ageist at all, so don't get this next question twisted. We do have two presidential candidates that are well older than you, and or been around longer than you, and they are vying for that spot to lead the country. And we have we have minimum age requirements for certain things. You can't drink until you're 21. You can't own a gun or something like that, and until you're 18 or 21 in certain situations. You can't rent a car until you're 23. Once you hit a certain age in a position, they require that you retire at a certain age. So do you think that, because I also read in one of your interviews, you don't think there should be any time limit on people serving in office as far as there being term limits? So I want to ask you, do you think that politicians, or the role of a politician, should have an age limit to, as far as you serving for we the people?
I would be against that for the very simple reason that, I speak from experience. I'm much wiser today than I was when I was young. We're one of the only societies in the world that devalues our older people. We say we really sort of put them out to pasture. We give them cash incentives to quit working, to get out of the society of work. Instead of that, I'm not in favor of something which honors them in any financial way. So I'm against like senior day at the store, where you get 10% off if you come in on a Wednesday. I think age is a pretty irrelevant thing, because it's completely arbitrary, and it just depends on what day and what year you were born. I'll ask you this question. Do you think that a person who's 17 and a half years is completely incapable of driving a car, but on their 18th birthday, they miraculously become perfectly capable of driving a car? They can drive anywhere they want. I'll answer my own question. That's just ludicrous, because I know people that are 12 years old and they can drive better than me.
Yeah.
And I know people that are 32 years old, and really, I prefer not to be on the road at the same time. And every one of these, the age of drinking, the age of getting in the military, the age of voting, all these ages are just completely arbitrary, and they assume that on a certain day at a certain year, everybody becomes the same. And I've just never seen that in real life. The reason I'm not in favor of term limits, and I'm willing to listen to arguments that say, listen to why we should have them, but I'm not in favor of them because we have term limits. If somebody's not doing a good job, don't vote for them, and then they won't have that job anymore. I think
that's another kind of like, I don't want to say ignorant, but
that's okay. I've been called worse.
It's kind of like not observing the true situation. All right, for instance, with the example of Maxine Waters, you've heard of her before. She's a longtime Democrat, been in office for 29 years as a representative. Okay, now a lot has happened in that 29 years. People have lived lives and died in that entire time. And of course, we've had cultural changes during that time. And I would say that's where the limitation comes into play, because you still have people that think a certain way and will impose those thoughts upon others. It's like if you don't like marijuana, for instance, and you feel like because of your experiences, no one should be able to have access to that. And now you're a Senate member making those decisions for millions of other people. And that's simply because of that person's age, that person's life experiences, et cetera, has nothing to do with the world around them. it's kind of like a selfish type of a attribute, you know. So I would say that's the only reason why term limits would be a great idea, because as much as we the people want to maybe want to rid ourselves of that politician and get them out of office, is big money, special interests, you know, the corporatocracy of our politics that keeps them in office. The only reason why she keeps winning is because she has millions of dollars, you know, and major donors and special interests that want to keep her in office and keep her in that position, opposed to where the people in those districts want her to hell out, you know. So how does the average American, working class citizen who doesn't really give a damn about politics, wants government to just stay out of their lives, have an opportunity to compete against somebody such as that, you know?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Once you get into office, it's a lot easier to stay in office because you have name recognition. Politicians are basically just brands like Kleenex and Tide. Everybody's heard of Tide. Everybody's heard of Kleenex. We might decide not to buy it because we get a cheaper price, but we've all heard of it. Once a politician is in office, if they're any good at all, then everybody in their district or their state or the entire country has heard their name on the media thousands of times.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go into the voting booth, if they aren't particularly knowledgeable, I'm just going to pick that up and hang it up. So.
All right.
I don't have an off button on my phone. So, you know, once you're in office and everybody knows your name, then a lot of people, they go to the voting booth and they go, Maxine, I've heard of her, so I'll vote for her. And that's a natural impediment to anybody new getting in. But on the other hand, you know, we've seen it that people that didn't start with a lot of money, they still got a lot of press and they still managed to make themselves known. There's many examples of relatively unknown people who ran against incumbents and they did a great job and they got a lot of name brand recognition and they talked well and they got elected. So it's not true that everybody that gets into office is always going to stay in office. And I think that we sort of have to live with this brand name problem because I don't really know the answer to prevent that from happening. You know, politics, if you start on the ground level, it's about people vote for people that they know. So shaking hands, that's my entire campaign is based on shaking hands. I drive all around Iowa. I've already driven 5,000 miles, and I will drive another 5,000 miles. And I go to towns, small towns, big towns, all over the state. And I just walk in the door with my flyers and I say, hi, I'm Rick. I'm a Libertarian candidate for United States Senate. And I've got some information for you. If you'd like to know anything about me, it's on the back. And if you have any specific questions, then I'd be glad to sit here and answer them as long as you'd be willing to ask questions. And, you know, I get a lot of votes that way. But I need 500,000 votes to win this election, and I can't do that 500,000 times. Right. And I don't have the kind of money it would take. My two opponents, they both have $75 million. Right. They are running negative ads on TV and the radio all day long. Every day in my mail, I get a negative postcard from both of them. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, both of them are telling me how bad the other one is. I think if I had $1 million, and that might sound like a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to them. And I could introduce myself to Iowa voters in a positive way so that they recognize my face and they know my name. I think I'd win this election.
I do too.
I think it's up to people like the person you're talking about to chip in some money so that libertarian candidates can do the branding work that's necessary. And basically it's advertising. You know, we just libertarians need to start putting more money into campaigns. And this is not a plea for just me. This is a plea for libertarian candidates all around the country and libertarians all around the country. Yeah, we need to give you money because money is the gasoline and the oil that makes the engine run. And we don't have to match the Democrats and the Republicans. But just one more item, though. You know, Michael Bloomberg, he proved that you can't buy votes in America. He spent $500 million, and I don't know. It's like it was $1 million per vote. He got nothing.
ridiculous. And
So,
didn't
you know,
know damn where. And that's the most disgusting part for people that say we need to get money out of politics. Look at what he did. Instead of helping people with all of that money, individuals, had he sent that money to, just random people across the country, how much of an impact would that have had on making our society a better place? Instead, he did this self-serving app, which is to say, I can fix all of your problems and I'll spend billions of dollars proving to you so, only to fall flat on his damn face and waste all of that money. It happens every single election. And even with yours, with your competitors, those opponents, the big R and the big D, they have $75 million, and one of them assholes is going to lose.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm gonna applaud.
Assholes lose to you, because that would even that would sweeten the deal even more, to just know that they just wasted $150 million on this guy, who came in and swept it clean off of simple principles. And that's where I think we need to start shifting our focus as voters, is not focusing on the money, start focusing on the candidates, what they're offering to do, and if their solutions that they're proposing are truly ones that we feel like would help us, versus don't vote for this guy because, don't vote for that guy because, that's simply why they're using that money, is like you said, to kind of do negative advertising. And it sucks. It really does, because we get robbed every time, we lose every time, and it's not a value. It's nothing that we should be able or are able to appreciate, and it's a lack of investment into the improvement of our society, opposed to where if they had to use that money in a better way, we could be so much further in life. So I really hope that you end up winning your election. I mean, because it doesn't take all of that money. It does take for you going out there, meeting people face to face, shaking hands, especially during this time, during this pandemic panic, when they're doing their best to use the fear-mongering tactics to prevent us from interacting with each other. So you're a brave man going out there, traveling all of these, distances, to introduce yourself to people face to face and let them know that you are the best person to represent the people of Iowa and the people of California, as well as the people of America. So I definitely wish you all the best of luck with your election, Rick. None of my guests ever know what the hell I'm going to ask as far as questions. So I appreciate you for answering each and every question as you did, as thoroughly as you did, my man. And like I said, I definitely hope you win your election, because we could benefit from having you serve as a representative of we the people.
Well, I would love to do that, and I would love to come out and help you in your race too, when if you're going to pull into the governor's race.
Yes, indeed.
I believe that the people that are out there, we need to help each other, and two plus two people is more than twice as good as one. I got a lot of sidewalk stomping to do in my life. I'm not going to quit until I win. So I look forward to the challenges, and I support you in your own race.
Oh, thank you. God bless you. I truly appreciate it. And you're right. It does take a coast to coast effort for us to bring back liberty to this country, to our shores, and in our hearts where it belongs, So thank you so much for being here on the Black Side of Liberty, Mr. Rick Stewart, candidate for Iowa Senate. So please, everyone out there, please support this man in every way that you can. Head on over to rickstewart.com. That's his website down at the bottom. That is correct. That's the best place for people to find you, right, Rick? All right. And make a contribution to his campaign today so he can win and represent we the people of Iowa and America. Thank you so much again, Rick, for being here on the Black Side of Liberty. You definitely stay blessed until next time, my friend.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. Thank you. That again, ladies and gentlemen, was Rick Stewart, candidate for Iowa Senate. So if you're out there watching and you are in Iowa, please definitely support him. Do all that you can to make sure all of your friends and family know about who he is. All the money that these politicians are using is to pay for your attention. Buy your attention. Make sure that it counts. Spend it wisely, and it doesn't cost a thing. So all you have to do is head over to rickstewart.com, share any of his information, head on over to his Facebook page like I did. Make sure you click like, as well as share any of his posts, and make sure he is known by more and more people so he has an opportunity to win his election come November 3rd. That's what we want to do. We want to use all of our tools and resources that don't cost us a thing, that these politicians are spending millions of dollars for, to use it wisely. Okay, so please, as I said, make sure that you support my man Rick Stewart, and make sure we, the people of America, have an opportunity to have him serve as a representative for Iowa. Okay, and of course, if you want to have me represent you out here in California, all you have to do is head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Wildstar4Gov. Let me bring that up for you here. Please head on over to my CrowdPack. It is a crowdfunding website for political candidates. So I'm using my CrowdPack to help reach my goal of $10,000. I need that $10,000 before the end of the year so I can cover all of the filing fees and other costs that it takes in order for me to get on the ballot and do what I need to do to represent you, we the people of California. So like I said, head on over to crowdpack.com/C/Wildstar4Gov. Make a contribution today. All I'm asking for all of you out there right now is $5. If you got $5 in your pocket, let me get 5. Put 5 on it. All right, let's do this. And we can fast track it. As Rick Stewart said, money is the lifeblood of our society, and is definitely the fuel that we need to drive this engine, drive this asshole out of office. And if you want to get Gavin Newsom out of office and drive somebody into that seat, that would be me, Nicholas Wildstar, candidate for California governor, aka the Gov. Please help me out by making a $5 contribution today. And if you don't want to help out me, but you still want to make sure we, the people of California, have an opportunity to bring back liberty, then please head on over to recallgavin2020.com. That's recallgavin2020.com. As you can see, it's right there at the bottom of the screen. Make a contribution to the recall team today. They're doing everything that they can to help us get this tyrannical asshole out of office. Unemployment has went up since he has took office. And this is before the coronavirus lockdown, okay? Before the coronavirus lockdown, people have been suffering, losing their jobs, haven't been able to provide for themselves or their family, and ending up homeless on our streets. And California already has one of the highest homeless populations in the entire nation. Since he has taken office, it has went up tremendously. So we want to recall him and get him out of office now. Please head on over to recallgavin2020.com. If you're in California, print out that petition, circulate that petition, and send that in to make sure that we have an opportunity to get him out of office now. And if you want to get involved on a grassroots level with this effort, please head on over to wehaverights.org. That's wehaverights.org. It's right there down at the bottom of the screen. We are a nonprofit organization that is seeking to make sure that all of our elected officials are held accountable. And we're going to start first with the governor, Governor Gavin Newsom, which is why we've been involved with the reopen protests throughout the state. We've been able to mobilize tens of thousands of people up and down California to make sure that we put pressure on the government and our governor to reopen the state so we, the people of California, can get our lives back to normal. So head on over to wehaverights.org and make a contribution today. You can click on donate, or of course, be sure to join. Just click on join us, join the recall team, join We Have Rights, and let's bring back liberty to the state of California, okay? And of course, you definitely want to be sure to come back each and every Wednesday to speak with my lovely wife, Crystal Wildstar, who hosts her Crystal Room Wednesdays right here on my Governor Wildstar YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to come back each and every Wednesday where my wife, Crystal Wildstar, will be giving any and all of you out there that are watching free psychic readings, and she is happy to do so. So come on over to Crystal Room Wednesdays each and every Wednesday right here on the Governor Wildstar YouTube channel, or you can head on over to Crystal's Healing Arts on Facebook. Connect with her, click like, and you can get reminders on when she goes live and does any of her special spectacular videos. All right. But first, of course, I need all of you to come back next week, Tuesday, for another Black Side of Liberty, where I will be speaking with my guest, Fina Banoan. I believe I said that right. Fina Banoan, who is a candidate for Hawaii Senate. Okay. She will be right here on the Black Side of Liberty, and we'll be talking to her more about her campaign and what she plans to do for the people of Hawaii. Got my man John. He says, I have many friends who worked for Disney and are jobless thanks to Newsom. He said, we are in no rush to reopen the parks. People who need to get the paycheck to eat are in a rush. Tell me about it. He's still getting the paycheck, his taxpayer-backed paycheck from us, we the people, to make sure that he stays well paid since he gets hundreds of thousands of dollars, $15,000, $17,000 a month, I believe, in his state check that is paid for by taxpayers. But you're right, John, he did not allow the state of California to reopen the Disneyland parks and says we are in no rush to reopen those parks, even though those parks employ, I believe, over 2,000 people, 20,000, maybe even more here in the state of California. Not going to reopen those parks anytime soon. So we need to get rid of Newsom, get people back to work, definitely right now. And he also says, love this channel, love your interviews, keep up the good work. Oh, God bless you, John. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. I'm doing all that I can to make sure the Black Side of Liberty keeps running. But of course, it doesn't run without people like you supporting me. So please head on over to my website, governorwildstar.com, make a contribution today, and let's make sure that we're able to keep the Black Side of Liberty going. Crystal Wildstar says, thank you for the shout out. Of course, love, I'm always going to let people know about you and what they should be doing to support you. And thank you to each and every one of you out there that drop comments. Crystal, my wife, John E. William Bay. Let's see, we got my man TJ in the house. Let's see, we also got Martha Bates, who dropped in and dropped a word. Dan Salas. I got a lot of love here today on the Black Side of Liberty. So thank you all for all of the comments and questions. As I said, please come back Tuesday where we will be speaking with Fina Banoan, candidate for Hawaii Senate. So all of you out there watching, I truly do appreciate you for being here on the Black Side of Liberty. All my beings of light, art, culture, and knowledge, please definitely come back next week, Tuesday, and let's talk more about how we can bring back liberty to the world. Starting first, we're here in California, but we're going to spread that word and get that all over the world. All right? Thank you guys and take care. Until next time, you have a wonderful weekend. I'm up out of here. Peace.